Hey, friends, welcome back to the Healing Project.
Welcome.
We're so glad that you're here. If you're walking through a hard season and trying to build something beautiful, we want to invite you along for the conversation. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that we can continue to build this community with real conversation and real healing.
Absolutely. And today we're going to dive into a loaded topic. It's a big one, and it's associated with grief and holidays and families. We're talking about the expectations of blended families and grieving what once was while trying to bridge the gap of what we're trying to build now. So that's a big one. So let's breathe, and we're going to dive in together. We're going to hopefully give some tools that we can use, practical tools, and go from there. So one thing we have to talk about is naming the grief.
Mm-hmm.
Naming grief, giving opportunity for that grief to have a space where it can find healing, and also our families can find traction, because it's a big deal. So the holidays carry two things at once. They really do. We carry what used to be, and we also carry what we're trying to build now. So that's a big weight and a challenge for families that are blended, and it's hard. It's difficult. It's
It
not
is.
easy, and it takes work.
It does. And remembering that grief isn't always the loss of a person, it can identify as the loss of the family you thought you'd have or the person you thought you'd be. It could be the loss of the traditions that you carried at one time as a family. As we both experience on both sides,
Right.
you are stepdad to my kids, they're grown, but I'm stepmom to your girls, and we still have two under the roof, right? So that is very real in our current situation where we are trying to honor the traditions that were and create new traditions and memories
And isn't
in
it
our family.
that's a strange battle with nostalgia, is we often remember things much differently than they really were. And you've talked about the credibility that we have as both as parents in those roles. And we try really hard to honor those roles. And
Mm,
it's challenging. It's
mm.
difficult. It's difficult. Family is difficult. And it's difficult when there's different expectations, and there's different traditions, and nostalgia can be one of the hardest things to battle, because we often rem- remember things like we think they were, when that's really not what they were. And we're always
We
battling the
just
Hallmark movie.
Absolutely, we just had this conversation over Thanksgiving at the dinner table. I asked my mom, I said, didn't we always go see the
Yeah,
Nutcracker at Christmas? And she said, no, we never went
no,
and saw that. And I
never
said,
once.
in my mind, I remember seeing the Nutcracker as a child. And she was like, oh, well, we watched it on television.
Yeah,
I said, well, I must have really got into it because in my
and you
mind, I
thought,
was there watching the ballerinas and
yeah,
watching all the
you were
Nutcrackers and all the
convinced
things
that
happening.
you were convinced that was a holiday tradition
Yes, I
that you
wanted
had
to
every
bring the
year.
grandbabies
Yeah.
because I felt like I was missing out
And you've
sharing
told me
something with
this
them.
2 years in a row that we need to go to the Nutcracker because you went to the Nutcracker as
And
a kid.
it was not a
It
real
was not.
memory.
You saw it on TV one time,
Yeah,
but you insisted that it was something you did constantly. But isn't that how it works, right?
right.
As humans, we only remember the last time we remembered,
Hmm.
and it's amazing. I was listening to a deep dive on memory, and they were talking about people who were asked during a tragic event in our nation. They were to give, like, within a week. They gave information of where they were and what they were doing. They were asked a year later. Most of them got every detail wrong,
Hmm.
and that's just how it is, right? And we battle that nostalgic weight around the holidays more than any other time. And in a blended family, we're often battling traditions that feel more meaningful than maybe they even were. And
Right.
not to dismiss them, but that's a real weight. So we have to be aware of that, because let's talk about the invisible expectation.
Those are hard because everyone in a blended family is kind of coming from a different vantage point.
Right.
As the children, they are fighting loyalty battle in their mind, and it can be physical as well. Who do I spend this
Right.
time this
Right.
day with, or this time that day with? And splitting homes and splitting families and splitting time can be really hard. And a lot of times they don't have the language to really vocalize or verbalize what it is and how hard it is for them. So giving them space that it's okay, that it's not a competition and it's not a battle, and it's okay to be happy that you're here and
Right.
to miss the other family, to miss the other parent or the other family members or those other traditions, giving them space to verbalize it, and it's okay, making it okay for two things to be at
True
the
at one
same
time.
time.
Yeah. And in relationship, from that vantage point, in family relationships, most conflict arises from unmet expectations.
Hmm.
And especially if those expectations don't have an opportunity to even have a name behind them. So, one of the tools that we have, that we want to share, is definitely giving that space where people can absolutely talk about that, give space to that.
Yes.
Because if we can give that language, then it gives it power that we can deal with it. We can become
Hmm.
more than just a house of tension and a house feeling like we're divided. One thing we're really intentional about is in our blended family with our girls who live with us, there's a set day that we don't even try to plan anything on. We just know, hey, this is a time that you're going to be with this side of the family. We don't try to plan anything around that. We go to church on that day. Like, we make it, they get to celebrate that day and they get to come home and they're happy. And then we, instead of being sad and we're alone, we've been able to be a part of different traditions, just
Hmm.
different celebratory traditions, different services that we would have probably never
Yeah.
participated in, other than being able to be in those moments
Hmm.
and creating like new traditions that now we get to enjoy
Hmm.
and we get to celebrate. So it's not a day of like mourning or sadness, and that's really hard. We don't want to minimize that or make people feel like, hey, get it together, or
No,
you
for
know
sure. It took us a
it
while
did.
to get there. We've been together for several years, and it's
Yeah.
taken us a while to get to the place where it doesn't feel like rejection, or we don't see it as rejection. We
Right.
see it as allowing the kids the chance to
Right.
see all of their family and enjoy their holiday without an written and unrealistic expectation on them. So we were talking about the kids specifically. So some of the other tools for kids, just so that we get these in, because I think they're really important, is make you're excited to be here, but you're missing the other, and both can be make sense at the same
Give them
time.
language.
Right,
Give them,
giving them
and even planning ahead.
mhm,
Right, sitting down.
predictable plans.
I love that. I
Hmm.
love that. That's another tool. Predictable plans, because kids, families thrive in structure.
Hmm.
And so don't wait until Thanksgiving to start talking about
Where
the
we're going to
holiday.
be and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then let them honor their other parents without guilt. A simple, it's okay to miss them today, changes everything. It's okay. As a step parent, it can be hard
Yeah.
because you feel like you're always trying to measure up to this standard that you're never quite going to make. But if you change your viewpoint on it, and I tell the girls all the time, I'm so excited that I get to be your bonus mom.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be your mom. I get to be your extra mom that gets to give you extra love and guidance and help you grow up to be the best version of yourself you can be. And I'm not taking anything away from your mom and your relationship with
Beautiful.
her. I giving them that it's okay. It's okay, and there's no guilt, and you can love all of your parents, your biological as well as your step parents, without there being a competition.
Right. And the truth is, as children age, they'll start to have, friendships that are on the same level as their biological and their bonus parents. And so those are all real conversations. As they start to get out of the house, they start to have deeper relationship with those. So it doesn't, our families don't need perfection.
Mm-hmm.
They just need a place to be able to process and work through those. And it takes planning. It does take planning. You've talked about that, about giving the permission to feel,
Mm-hmm.
but also giving the family permission and time to plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. Is
Well,
planning ahead. But don't plan to where it's too much pressure.
yeah,
Some of that planning
it
may
doesn't have
be
to be
taking
magical.
some stuff off of the plate,
Right.
removing some of the things. We had a party and I love you, and your love language is to do for, right? To do for others.
Mm-hmm.
And we had about 17 things we needed to get done. And in your excitement, you were like, here's 18, 19, and 20. And you didn't like that. I was like, okay, I love this. And I think that we can pull back a little bit because we're not going to have enough time and it's just going to make it more stressful. And then we're not going to be able to enjoy the day. And in hindsight, I'm not saying I was right, but it turned out it turned out beneficial for us to
You're
plan.
not saying you're
Yeah,
right.
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But it did help, and sometimes it may help to plan ahead to pull back on some of
Mm-hmm.
the expectations that you may have
Mm-hmm.
to make it the most perfect Christmas, the most perfect holiday.
But you feel like if you are operating in a place of competition, then you feel you have to, right? You have to get the better gifts and you have to have the better day and you have to have the more hot chocolate and the more
Yeah,
cookies and the whatever for Christmas. But
yeah,
these are some of the things, the tools for the step parents.
I love
Don't
this.
compete with the past. You're not replacing anyone, which is huge. Lower the holiday pressure. You don't have to create the magic hallmark, right? Alone. And find small traditions that are yours. Even one little ritual can start creating that belonging and something that you'll look forward to the next year and the next year and the next year. We did the little, what are they called? The popper things.
Yeah,
They're from the UK. They're not even
yeah,
a United States thing, but that was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. And so we've done that for 2 years now. So we'll
yeah,
continue to do the crackers is what they're
yeah.
called. But that, so remembering that as a step parent, you aren't a filler,
Right.
you're a bridge builder.
And the truth is that as parents and step parents, especially, let me talk to step parents, your role is extremely difficult.
Mm.
You have to bet about 1,000. You can't get it wrong, right? That's the expectation. And we just want to say it's okay to breathe. It's okay to give yourself space. It's okay to have a conversation with your spouse, your partner, to be able to express those things because no one's trained you for this. Yes, listen to podcasts, read every book you can get your hands on,
Mm-hmm.
get in a healthy support group. But even with all those tools, no one's going to have a specific playbook for every specific situation that arises and the emotions that arise and the complications. Some things will out of nowhere will cause like a disastrous response. Other things they kind of pass and nobody's
Mm-hmm.
really that worked up about it. It
Mm-hmm.
just you never know. You don't know how it's going to go, and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's okay to give yourself space to kind of have that toolbox. So let's talk about tools for parents,
Mm-hmm.
the biologicals. So a lot of times as a parent, we live in guilt, right? We feel like we've let our kids down. We haven't given them the perfect childhood or the perfect Christmas, and divorce, disruption, loss, because it doesn't have loss doesn't have to have a funeral attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
It can. We've talked about jobs, we've talked about relationships, we've talked about things that we've had in our lives, and blended family. It is a loss. We don't advocate for divorce. We're not celebrating divorce.
Mm-mm.
It's tough. It's difficult. It's difficult even as people grow and things change. It's very difficult. So as parents, we have to be careful that we don't allow guilt to freeze us. We don't get stuck in this place of guilt to where it becomes a competition, and then it becomes a source of almost bitterness, and then it starts to become anger, and then we start to reject, and instead of having progress forward, we wind up in this kind of pit of despair, and that's not where we want to be. So our kids need us present, they don't need us
Mm-hmm.
perfect. So here's a couple things: is release the pressure to make everybody happy.
Hmm.
You don't have to make everybody happy all the time.
Say it again.
Release the pressure to make everybody happy. You don't
Yes.
have to make everybody happy all the time. In fact, you can use this in almost every. I'm not saying intentionally be a Grinch, but it's okay for you to put up boundaries and say, I can't give everybody everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the case, my kids would eat Raisin Canes. Maybe not all of them, but my youngest would eat Raisin Canes for dinner
Every
every
day.
every day, and it's just not feasible. It's
Mm-hmm.
not it's not a good thing for us to have.
Correct.
So number two, set a simple tradition, not expensive ones, just simple ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be variations of traditions that existed or that are shared. It's okay to have two cookie nights where we make cookies, and it's okay to be, it's like
Mm-hmm.
more enjoyable. It's not a competition. And one can be with family and one can be with friends. And it just depends on how that goes. And we have a guest here with us, our little chicken. She's here. And then, validate feelings. What are theirs? What are yours? And allow space for people to talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
let it be a space where people can actually show genuine emotion and work through those emotions, not just one chicken's joining the podcast and she wants to get in the Christmas tree.
No,
We
ma'am.
love you, baby. You can't get in there. So you don't need to fix the past. You just need to show up today. I'll say it
Correct.
again. You don't have to fix the past. You just need to show up today. So
Yes.
that's a big one. We love you, baby. Yes. Yes. So we want to tell people that if you're in the middle of this season and it's really hard because Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, those can be wonderful holidays, but they can also be very, very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
There's an increase of self harm during this time of year. There's an increase of people abusing substances, just depression, all
Mm-hmm.
those realities, they're real. And we want people to know that there's hope in the middle of all this. You're
Absolutely.
not alone, you're not abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
God is constantly with us. When we're brokenhearted, He's even closer because we're more aware. It's not that we have this wide gap between us, but we just become more aware of those gentle touches and those soft reminders and the 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 small voice that speaks to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell somebody that it's okay for you today to know that God is not intimidated by the brokenness that is in your family. Uh, Being a part of a step family, a blended family, is the actual holy family that we know. Could you imagine Joseph and his?
Poor Joseph.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Like,
Could you
you're
imagine?
not my dad.
Yeah,
My dad is
at 12 years,
Jod.
yeah, at 12 years old, Jesus looks at him and he's been gone missing for 3 days, and he
Right.
finds him in the temple, and he looks at his stepdad and says, I must be about my father's business.
Right.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Because later on in his own hometown, they're like, isn't this the carpenter's son? So
Right.
obviously there's an identification towards his earthly father,
Mm-hmm.
and there was complications with that. So the very sacred family that is celebrated is a blended
It's a
family.
blended family.
And God is not put off by that. He's not put off by broken or rebuild. He's in the business of rebuilding and redeeming.
Mm-hmm.
Always, grace is always working for the divine is always working for the story of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's beautiful about the pain that we're in right now, is the story's not over.
It's not.
It's not over.
And remembering that grace is something that we get from the Almighty, but it's also something that we give ourselves and we give each other. Grace is such a beautiful, I think of it as a soothing balm. Grace can make so much heal and so much ease come in a situation if you will just allow grace to be in the forefront and not bitterness and anger and competition. Just
So
be graceful.
an ancient principle found in scripture is, if we don't give it to one another, we don't get it from above. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So grace has to be in the forefront. And it's something, it's tough. And we're not saying it's easy.
No.
We're not saying it comes naturally.
Well, I mean, and most families split because something didn't go well,
It
right?
didn't. And there's
Things
hurt.
usually don't end well
Right.
when they end.
Even in the best of scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
there's still going to be some hurt. But grace is always looking to redeem and rebuild. But it has to be given before it can be received.
Agreed.
And that's a good way to end it, I think.
I think so. And I think one thing we say all the time, that you're not broken, you're becoming.
Yes.
And the same thing applies to our blended families. Our blended families are not broken, they are becoming.
And we've heard stories that people have, been able to not ever speak and not ever be in the same room and then be able to celebrate. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to look the same for everybody.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't mean you have to all vacation together down the road. Who knows what the road will lead us to? Just be open, to be gracious, and to be understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
That's it. Thank you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you again
Absolutely.
soon.
Like and subscribe. There are some great resources that are connected to our channels. There's the two interactive journals that
Mm-hmm.
can help you during spaces of burnout and spaces of grief. So if you're interested, please let us know. We'd love to get those resources in your hand.
Have a great holiday.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas.